Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Discovery Channel. Tom O'Connor from we're in between waves of potential hurricanes in New Orleans because it's August. That's where we're at. It's August. It's hurricane time, and getting ready to go to Ilta next week. It's always funny. My guest today. Really happy to have Stephanie Clerkin with us here. Stephanie very kindly told me how to pronounce the name of her firm, which everybody gets wrong, which is Korein Tillery.
So close, Korein.
Korein.
But
Oh,
fine like yeah, fine
oh,
like
there you go.
fine. No,
That's
you're close enough. We'll
it.
take it.
Korein Tillery. Well, they're in St. Louis, right?
Yep, and we are in between tornadoes right now.
Oh yeah.
So,
So it's you're a tornado alley up there.
mhm.
Oh, it's going to be. I think August is going to be an active month. Um, but Stephanie and I were just both talking about going to Ilta next week. By the time you're looking at this, we'll be winding our way into DC. And I'm just always happy because the tie-in there is that Ilta for years used to be later in the month around Labor Day, and I think every other Ilta that I went to for years, there was a hurricane hitting New
Oh
Orleans.
gosh.
I mean, I can remember being stuck at the airport in Baltimore and spending a couple of days in Baltimore after a DC Ilta, one in I forget where, but it just Labor Day weekend was always the seems like that's when the hurricane zeroed in. So we're all holding our breath. I don't know how tornadoes have been. We haven't had anything so far.
We have like I don't know if it's the record, but between May and July, I don't know how many tornadoes touched down, and it's
Wow.
within city limits. Like it went through the city of St. Louis in May, which
Wow.
did not happen in 50 plus years, 60 years.
Wow, we're lucky. We've only had one. There was only one named hurricane tropical storm in June, and it didn't even come into the Gulf. It was on uh, up into Florida or off to the to the side. Everything seems to be staring out into the Atlantic. I'm looking at the map as we're going to Ilta. There's one off the coast of the Carolinas right now, but it's going. Yeah, it's heading east. So I don't know
Not
what
going
it is, but
away. We're
I'll take it. Yeah,
good. Yeah.
exactly. So, Stephanie, I wanted to talk to you because this is my ongoing AI series. Not that anybody else is talking about AI these days.
Yeah.
I thought we'd at least, resuscitate a dying discussion. I dread walking into the room at Ilta, into the exhibitor hall. Like I said earlier,
Maybe we should try to find what booth does not have the word
uh,
AI
uh, that's
on it.
I'm gonna if I find one, I'm gonna take a picture.
Yeah.
If you find one, let me know.
I will. Now I'm going to actually be on the lookout.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's got to be. I say there's got to be somebody, but maybe the espresso booth. Maybe the guy's doing coffee. But
The actual ILTA booth or ASED's booth maybe doesn't have it on the name, but I'm sure yeah, you're right. I want now this is going to be a
it's going to be a
new
mission.
challenge.
Yeah, there's
Challenge
going to be like
accepted.
100 vendors there. Can we find one that doesn't mention AI? So I'm curious to talk to you to get your take on. And we talked a little bit before we started recording here. Your firm is a well-known, prestigious plaintiffs firm, um, not just plaintiff work, but complex litigation, big cases, um, and so much of the discussion about AI centers on, and rightfully so, the corporate environment and the firms that work with them, and the massive cases with huge amounts of data. Um, and so I'm just kind of wondering what your take is on how are you dealing with the AI juggernaut and what are you seeing in because you have document intensive cases, obviously, and they may be documents that are I hesitate to use the word data dump that are delivered to you. um,
Yeah,
so
data dump still applies sometimes. Yeah.
yeah, oh yeah, I know. I'm involved in one big case now that and there's no other word for it, but that's all right. Um, um, so what's your take? How have you dealt with that? Like this is an AA meeting. How it
Yeah.
was, what it was like then, what it's like now. How have you dealt with those in the past, and where do you see AI helping you to deal with that going forward?
So let's see. I'm about to hit my 12-year anniversary at the firm, and that
Wow,
which is also 12 years in this industry. I mean, I came
wow,
out of finance, accounting, consulting world, so I knew nothing about my job when I started, which hey, worked out. Um, But I first joined because they had received, it was 127 terabytes of collected data for the housing market cases. Granted, all of that was not going to go into, a processing engine, but that's when the need for having an actual dedicated project manager
It was help.
came in. Yeah. So that became my world, is help organize this, this what we inherited from those cases. And back then it was, we would process everything to, some degrees, like whole PST, network drive, put it all in, laptop, put it all in, and then we'll filter it later. There were no per gig fees. We just put it in the system, paid our flat fee a year license, and then I'd end up with way too much data that then
And what
slows
did
down
what did
the
you use,
database.
if you don't mind saying?
So we've had relativity since
Oh,
December 2013. So this
okay.
is relativity server though. So we're going back to those days.
Yeah. But still a good product that was
Yeah,
capable of dealing with this. Yeah.
exactly. And at the time, it was very unheard of for a firm with only 25 or so attorneys
Yes.
on the plaintiff side to have a dedicated relativity instance, because it was our direct relationship, and still have a direct relationship with them to this day. But now we're moving stuff, to the cloud with RAL one. But yeah, I mean, for the first, I look back at some of these cases are still around, and I look back and I'm like, wow, this is like looking at an essay you write in high school versus a paper you write now, and being
Yeah.
glad you grew. And we would load it all. We barely culled it down, and then just threw people at it to review. And you search terms for everything because that was what
Yep.
you had. Then fast forward 5 years from there, I finally get people to buy into, maybe let's try tar, even if it's not for a full review, like for QC purposes. Um, and then comes active learning, and I still use active learning in probably every case, if nothing else, for QC. Um,
Well, I'll
and
tell
that,
you a little secret. Every
yeah,
every survey we do about what people are using, even big firms and corporations that have AI, um,
yeah,
that's what they're still doing. And people
exactly.
are still dipping their toe in the AI water. Um,
Yep. And it took having a couple major cases with active learning type projects running and getting good results to get better buy-in into, okay, this is something we do want to do. And then this is something we now have to do for our own clients, because we're now basically have an obligation to try to limit the attorney fees instead of linear review. We need to use some of these
yep. No,
technologies. And
it's funny though. It's a great observation. I mean, we had to fight tooth and nail to get people to accept tar,
mhm.
right? And now,
We
like,
still fight it. I mean, who am I
oh
kidding?
yeah,
I
but
still
now
have that.
everybody's rushing to jump on the AI bandwagon. Like
Yep.
it's
I
like
mean,
a flip flop. Yeah.
and we have not jumped in yet. I just, we were chatting before this. I just now am getting ready to start my 2 case studies. Hopefully tomorrow it starts, if not after ILTA, to use some of the relativity AI products. And
Okay.
I'm hoping to use those as, a jump start to now when we do get our next big either data dump or our own clients data dump, to use more and more of that to, one, either call it with ECA somehow up front, or if not that, just a traditional, can we do some issue coding with, AI? Get rid of, again, sometimes just to get rid of junk. Like I like doing the reverse process sometimes. Like, can I use this to just narrow it by, here's what we don't care about?
Do you, with your clients, do you have to do priv review? Is that an issue?
We usually do have a whole priv review. 90% of the time it's hundreds maybe of documents, not tens of thousands. So that said, it does sometimes get pretty large. Now, that's one area that I want to research more because, again, plaintiff's world, we're lately we've had a lot of issues with some fake privilege issues with our opposing counsel, and had
No.
to go to the courts over it, and it's been some big battles. And that's gonna be the area I probably will have the hardest time, I feel like, getting buy-in, just because it's just traditionally been such a area of contention.
Right.
I do want to try out, I still want to try out the products because I assist in that process. I'm not the one writing it, the descriptions or even, coding documents, but I am the one that's stuck helping clean up the Excel file at the end. So to take away some of that, and if there's some way that can work in, I'm definitely interested. And it's like any of these tools, unless we have a use case, I'm never probably going to have initial buy-in, but it's proving the use case and then it works, and it's not a black box. Like tar was kind of always seen as that black box.
Right.
Now being able to say this is why, this exact sentence is why this document was labeled with this issue or as privileged, seeing that transparency is going to be, I think it's good. I think it's going to make my life easier explaining this to others.
And I mean, you bring up an interesting point, which is how do you evaluate this? What are you looking at? Cost? Are you looking at efficiency, time? Does it depend on the case?
Yeah,
what are the balancing factors?
So it's going to be, that's going to be the hard part, is when is it worth trying Gen AI versus just, we're already going to have some attorneys reviewing documents regardless. They're not going away. It's, do we let AI handle some of the digging through the data dump? Do we let it try to do a first pass and then have our, doc reviewers or attorneys spend their time on higher quality projects like the second review, or look for very targeted items or depot prep?
Yeah.
And that's going to be the balance. Cause I mean, people in my world, I don't see us not having probably the same amount of attorneys we do, because we're pretty lean as it is. So we probably would just deploy them in other ways, is what I would hope. And then maybe find the key docs faster. That's really what it comes down to, is we need evidence. Like, how do we find that? And there's got to be a better way than 900 batches, but I haven't tried it yet on 900, the documents in 900 batches. We'll see how it does. And that's one of the tests I'm going to do. I'm going to take a case that just finished that has actual coding that was used for not just deposition, for trial. And I'm going to run it and I'm going to see what it says. And we'll have a real comparison.
Yeah. And in that case, and this is one of the things that always bothers me, and it bothered me about tar as well. We say, well, we've got a certain recall or precision rate. How do you check? Now, you've got, in what you just described, you'll have the results from the case that you actually work, so you'll know how good AI is doing to find the things that were in fact important. That to me is the real issue that we have now. What's our confidence level that this is finding, as you said, the key documents, the ones that we need to find? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the same. It's the same when you go back to tar. It's the same even when we have pure human linear review. When we do we've done samples on that the same way. I mean, I would hope other people do that. And it's, unfortunately, you may have someone who just did a poor job coding. Well, then you have to go fix it all. And it's going to be the same. It's going to be the same thing I think we say with AI, that prompt was written a little bit off. It's just, you hope you have ethical parties involved that will go back and fix that. I'm cynical sometimes, so I just assume, like, that's my fraud world coming out from 2007 days. But
no, but again, as the document sets get larger, especially, you're faced with this enormous task of, how do I QC it? If I'm getting 70% is my recall rate. Well, all right, but that,
yeah, see that, and like, if I saw I think anything with a 7, since I'd like to see the higher the better, even if it's industry acceptable. To me, as the former straight A student, a 70 would be like, oh, I'm probably gonna cry.
That's so funny. I just was I was at my doctor's this week, and my annual physical, and we're getting the tests, and they have this. It was really cool. It's on an iPad. One of several of the mental agility tests that they have, which are really, they're testing me for Alzheimer's. I know that. My final score was 114, and I said to the doctor, "Well, what's the perfect score? That's 114 out of what?" And he says 120, and I went, "Oh,
what did I miss?"
And he said, "No." He said, "What?" he said, that puts you like in the 15th percentile nationally. And I said, yeah, but I'm Irish Catholic. My mother, if you weren't fifth percentile, I said, you telling me 114 out of 120, that's like a B minus. That doesn't cut it. I'm going on bread and water for the rest of the week.
It's funny you say that because I grew up with a lot of Irish Catholic as well. Although I was my own worst enemy. It was never from like external people. It was just me
Oh yeah,
being.
yeah,
And I did a very similar move when I took the RCA exam with relativity. I got like a
sure.
93 or 94, and I was mad. They wouldn't tell me what I got wrong. And they're like, nobody gets that score. Just take it. Be happy.
My son took and passed the SEDS exam back in
Yeah.
the fall, and he was the same way because he inherited that from me and Gail. That perfectionism thing. And I said, well, how'd you do? He said, because they got it right away. They
Yeah.
do it electronically and they get
Yep.
the score right away. And he said, I think he said he got like an 82 or an 83. He was shaking his head like,
I almost failed is what I said.
yeah.
I
I
gotta
said,
get
dude,
85 and thought I was
when
like, man, I almost failed this. Yeah.
when somebody asks you, do you have your ACED certification? They're not going to ask you what you got on the test. They're going to say, are you SED certified?
Just,
but
yes.
but he's got that same attitude. Yeah, like, oh, I should have gotten a 92.
I've gotten better over the last 10 years, I think, but
Oh, I
no.
had a great time last night talking with my sister's an attorney up in Connecticut. We were laughing about it because she said, yeah, her first year of college, she came back from St. Mary's at Notre Dame, and she had all A's and a B B plus and something, and that's all my mother said. What's with the B plus?
And it's to this
She did like
day,
organic chemistry.
yeah, yeah,
I didn't even
yeah.
know what I was doing. But on
But I
the
mean,
other hand, in
yeah.
our business, yeah, that's what worries me, and I think it's what worries a lot of people who are hesitant on AI is
Mhm.
how are we being sure? And if I have to run multiple iterations, then secondarily, of course, the cost.
Yeah, correct.
FRCP says
Yeah.
we're supposed to be inexpensive.
Yeah, and I mean,
Just
I was kind
speedy
of playing that cynical role, and it's if I was on the other side and wanted to just quickly get this off my plate, I'd run one prompt, be like, good enough. And I mean, I can fool Chat GPT with prompts. What means I can't fool discover?
right.
I mean, I got it hallucinate a restaurant that doesn't exist in my neighborhood. It took like 2 attempts, and it had a whole full blown menu it gave me that was awful. So I was like, well, again, not to be always cynical. It's just I just
But
I just want to know if I was going to be that person, what would I do, and
yeah,
that, therefore, can I look for that on the.
yeah. So do you in talking to your peers, is that a common sentiment right now? Are people still like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm not saying it's bad, but I need a little bit. I'm from Missouri.
So I think the show me state here, we gotta get that. I think the biggest discussions we're gonna see soon enough, if it's not already happening, is what do you do with the final prompt? Do you exchange it or do you not? And
Yeah,
I agree with I don't need to see all the iterations of it. Like that to me, I don't want you to see what I craft as a search string when we would do that, because it's probably horrible the first 10 times. But the final one, the more I research, the more I'm starting to understand the camp of we do want to see the final prompt. And I would be fine sharing our final prompt as well. And it's gonna stir up the whole defense side as usual. But it's the transparent. I'm fine with transparency. Like if you want to see it, if I did my job correctly, here it is. And if you say something's wrong with it, well, let's chat and fix it.
yeah. Do you think, and have you seen even in what you've done up to this point, not even in AI, have these discussions come up in meet and confer sessions? Are the parties discussing this, or is it still?
Not that I've seen yet.
Yeah,
We still barely discuss tar in some cases. We're still search terms in so many cases. It hasn't evolved. Granted, we haven't had any big new cases start up recently. I mean, we go in these hills and valleys where these cases go on 5 years,
Yeah.
but then we
Yeah.
might have a year where we don't have discovery going on in any cases, and then we have all of them hit at once. So
Yep.
it's coming. I know it's getting put into protocols as you will meet and confer now on advanced, basically TAR and or Gen AI type technology. It's getting put in POs that, I mean, we don't want you to put our data in public LLMs either. So I'm fine with that kind of language. That if it's
Right. Right. Right.
if it's a proven provider, it's one thing. If it's an open AI just public model, well, no, we don't want the confidential data in there. So those are getting worked in, but I haven't seen the actual discussions yet. I think
And
others may be getting there in the plaintiff world, but we haven't seen any
right. Right.
yet.
No, I mean, it begs the bigger question is, are you doing protocols? Which,
Well, yeah, that's part of the
a lot of people are not.
correct.
There's discussions and informal back and forth, but an actual formal written protocol, my sense is those are the exception rather than the rule. I think that's changing. I think the tide is shifting, and we're seeing more and more decisions every month dealing
Yeah.
with protocols. But um, uh, what I'm wondering is if protocols come more to the forefront as AI becomes more widespread and people want to try to put a fence around it.
Yeah, and I know this was a running, joke from a panel at Relativity Fest last year with the State of the Union, and it was me, and I was on the plaintiff. Then Scott Milner was my
Well,
defense.
I remember I was there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so we were like we've known each other for I don't know how many years at this
Yeah.
point, so like we could have fun with this. So he just took the standpoint of we don't need protocols at all, and of course we're on the opposites, and we see that in cases originally like
Without a
defense
doubt.
doesn't want to, so we will be the one to propose first, and then they're more willing to work with us. But I also would just like my template to be the one proposed first, because
Right. You want to
why
take the
not?
high ground.
Yeah,
Yeah, take the
yeah.
high ground. Take the initiative.
So yeah, so that's a whole separate discussion there.
Yeah.
That's
And I'm curious, that's the other thing I'm curious about next week, to try to take a temperature from folks.
Mhm.
How many of the lawyers there were, because ILTA, of course, is more the tech people like you,
Yeah.
people who do the real work.
Well, and I love ILTA because I've met so many of my counterparts at
Yes.
opposing counsel through ILTA. It just makes
Yes.
things so much easier when we can
Yes.
coordinate without the not to bash all the attorneys, but all of them clogging up the email strings with unnecessary arguing over some
Without a
private
doubt.
password. Yeah,
Without a doubt.
yeah.
Uh,
So it's
we mentioned offline before we were talking Chuck Kellner, who's now at Everlaw. Chuck and I were on opposite sides of a case a number of years ago, and it proved to be a great resolution as the attorneys were just at it tooth and nail and would not settle. And the judge kind of noticed that Chuck and I were talking. He was a technical expert for the defense. I was with the plaintiffs,
yeah.
and she realized that we had a good working relationship, and she finally tossed it to us. She basically said one day, I want you guys you two, to come up with an agreement on how we're going to get these documents and how they're going to be, I don't know that she even called it a protocol at that point. It was just like an understanding, but it was, yeah, once you've met people from the other side and have a working relationship, it makes things far easier. I agree.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
one of
I
the
mean,
great strengths of ILTA.
yeah, and even when we start a new case and get a first production, I always try to get added to those email strings, not so I can just receive them, but so I can develop a rapport with usually
Yeah.
one of the paralegals or whoever it is. Because am I going to mess up a production link? Probably. Are they going to mess up one at some point? Yeah, probably too. And it's not the end
Let's
of the
just
world.
fix it.
So we'll
Let's
just fix
yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah. Pick up the phone. Hey, I got a
Yeah,
problem.
oh, this password doesn't work because I accidentally hit an extra space when I entered it or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, it happens. Stuff happens. We're
Mhm.
dealing with these monumental databases, and yeah,
And 2 million documents later, yeah, if you don't have one issue, I'd be more shocked than the
this
way
is
around.
not directly on point to our discussion, but that begs a question that I always like to ask people. Do you find that it's far easier when you're starting to exchange to do a sample first? Send me a test with your load file. Do you do that at all?
I've never done that actually,
See, because
but
what you just
we have
described.
we have a lot of the times the protocols lay it all out, and
Yeah, yeah.
so I usually know what's coming because we probably agreed on it. So
But I still like to test because as you said, you've agreed on the protocol
Yeah.
and somebody hits the space bar while they're looking over to the side. And, I'd much rather test that with 50 gigabytes of data
Yeah.
than
Yeah, that's
500.
fair.
Yeah. And, the whole thing just blows up and you don't know why. But anyways, that's just my preference for doing stuff. Um, so anything else in the AI world you'd like to mention?
I
Next week,
mean,
you're on the same page as me. I beat
so
next week as a way to really get some info.
I think there's just a lot on the, and again, I'm might be biased now being on the EDRM 2.0 committee, but the last 9 months, or I guess it's been almost a year, I mean, we've just talked so much about how things are shifting left more and more. Not
Oh
for
yeah,
everything, but
yes,
I mean, like what I was saying is we do have to use pretty much ECA probably on every case going forward because there's still a lot of volumes. The cost adds up, and not just cost, the slowness sometimes. You put 8 million documents in a database to run a search, you're going to just might as well go get coffee and come back.
that's right. That's right.
So I'm hoping to see either more and more on the ECA side or the case strategy type management side. So AI to help build the timelines, the depot summaries,
Summarized documents. Yes,
yeah,
yes, yes, yes.
yeah, summarize it in documents seems like the one area that people universally, or kind of maybe not universally, but people understand it.
Yeah,
So it's a lot easier to sell that concept than
yes.
we're going to review your docs. But that piece of it, I think there's so much that can be done there
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, I agree. We at least I tend to focus in on the doc review because that's the sandbox I play in.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned earlier, there's so many other things going on with AI, so many other things in our world that make life easier. That yeah, uh, criticism of one or two factors of document review with AI is not any sort of a criticism of AI. AI,
No,
it's a game changer, and it's
it
going to
is. And
be
I mean, I know not everyone has the ability to see the full process that I do because I'm involved usually from the time we start even muttering about ESI protocols through the trial. So
right.
I see these cases usually, well, a lot of them from beginning to end. And it's like now that I've gone through a few of these, it's taken years. I mean, we're talking 5+ years later, 6 years later. It's like, wow, if we would have done this 3 years ago, it would have just made trial prep easier.
Yes.
And now there's, the different tools coming out with add your facts as, it's some of them has already existed, but they haven't been as streamlined. They haven't been as easy to
Yep.
use. And building in the AI with it, I think is going to be great. Because here's what I really would love to do one day. This is just me now. I would love to take, especially when we're getting ready for depositions and trial, all of the deposition transcripts, find inconsistencies between testimony or between them all. And great. I mean, you have to limit it because you don't want people to have a weird one-off issue that's not relevant. But now
Yeah.
go find me documents that either support or counter that. And then when you get to trial, do the same with real-time trial transcripts and
Yeah.
find me
Wait
a
a
new.
minute. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's close. I mean, a lot of there may be. I mean, there may be software that can do it now if you pay enough, but it's
Yeah.
that's literal game changing right there.
Right.
Yeah.
We're getting there. We're getting there, and that'll be great because that'll enhance the administration of justice. Um,
Mhm. And
that'll
it also, I mean, goes back to your pro bono clients and stuff. If at some point anyone it will be able to at least put on a defense for themselves too,
that's
like,
right.
or so.
Tools that anybody can use.
So yes, I do believe that this is going to definitely this is change like Plaintiff's world's going to have to adjust regardless to this one. It's just a matter of is it I think it's going to be faster than TAR was
Oh
because
yeah. Yeah.
there's no choice in
I agree.
this. So,
That's it. It's because it's here. It's not a question of proving anything. It's a question of
yeah,
proving degrees of certainty.
yeah.
But the platform itself, yeah, we're there. We're
Mhm.
absolutely
I
there.
mean, I used what ChatGPT probably 8 different times today already for something
Yeah.
not client related. Like
No, no. I
no,
use
I
Copilot all the
yeah.
time. Microsoft is bundling so much stuff into their system that yeah, I get an email and somebody says, "What about this?" and blah blah blah. I have Copilot right there. I just click and say, check this.
So you'll like this one, what I did this morning. I took the list of all the ILTACON exhibitors
Okay.
and I put them in there and said, give me a 1 to 2 sentence elevator pitch of what each of these companies does.
Nice.
I have not got to check the results, but I thought that was a good use of AI right there because I don't want
Uh,
to go look up all of these.
you should take that list and say, is anybody on this list not talk about AI?
Yeah, I should. Yeah, it's in there for me to look at later. So, but there we go. That just saved me. I don't know how many. I
Yeah,
would have never been able to do that. Let's just not even pretend I
that's the
would.
thing. It's something you think about, but you wouldn't do it because it just would
It'd
take too
take too long.
long.
Yeah. So,
So closing statement, off topic, but it's time again. We'll be coming up on time. I'm sure Joy Morrow will be at the conference next week for the. We'll start taking nominations for the Gail O'Connor Spirit Award, which
yes.
we were uh, more than happy to. Correct me if I'm wrong. I should know this, but you probably knew. Was last year the first time we did two people?
Yeah,
No,
Bobby and
no, no, it isn't. I'm sorry.
wasn't that? Oh no, you and Mary and Kaylee one year, didn't
Barry
you?
and Kaylee won the year before,
Yeah.
right? So, um, but this may be the first year we'll have both co-winners on site because Bobby's going to
Yeah.
be there.
Yes, I'm excited. He said he's going to be there. So,
Okay,
yeah,
you got a good list for us for the coming year.
I hope so.
You got to nominate some people.
No, I have a list. Oh, it's on my notebook on my desk at work. I have 7 people on that list that
There
you
we
need to
go. That's what
for. So
I am so really happy that this has become such a broad event that people have
yeah,
embraced it, and we've gotten people outside of our little realm. Any one of these organizations, when you start, everybody knows everybody. You know, everybody who's on the planning group and this and that. Now it's blossomed out to really be throughout our profession, and like I didn't know who Bobby was.
well, here's the crazy part. Bobby and I had like 300 mutual connections and had never met somehow.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah,
how was this? But thanks to this
yeah,
process, we now chat quite often.
yeah.
So yeah,
And despite the fact that he's in DC, he works with some people who I know.
yeah.
Um, I never met him. I had never met him, and I think I'd only
It's
met
funny how
you
that
once or
works.
twice tangentially.
Yeah, again through like Maribel one day or something at an
Right,
event.
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really interesting that it's spread into something that's become much more truly comprehensive in our profession and getting people involved. So I'm looking forward to where it goes this year. Um,
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll have another whole bunch of new people who I don't know.
Well,
We'll get to
that's
meet.
the goal here, right?
Yeah, and that was, if anything, was the spirit of Gail.
Yeah.
There was always at the big celebration of life we had for her here in New Orleans. We had the classic New Orleans. We had a band and food and a second line, and it was classic. Um, and her relatives came down. Her sisters and her brother came down. A bunch of her family. Joy actually flew out
I
from
remember her saying
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah. Um, and her somebody her sister, I guess one of her sisters came up to me and said, she said, did Gail know everybody in New Orleans? And I said, only the people she met once,
Yeah.
because when she met them, that was it. They were a friend for life. But that's the way I feel this is going. That
That's
it's one thing to know each other professionally, but we're getting people to meet each other and engage, and you know,
it's it you nail the crew nailed it spot on with picking Bobby and I because we met once and now it's like friends for life. So that's the true. There you go. Gail's spirit lives on right there.
yeah, yeah. I love that, and Ilsa was her favorite show, because of all the people that she got to meet, and just a nice group. It's a
It
really
is.
good group of
Yeah,
people.
I always leave Ilta with so many new connections still to like
Yep,
how
yep,
did we never meet or they're brand new to the industry.
yep.
So I'm
Yep.
with you. I
I'm
agree.
looking forward to it. Well, thanks for taking some time and talking to me. Love your observations, and look forward to seeing you next week in beautiful downtown National Harbor.
Yeah, yeah.
I
So
love how they always say it's in DC. No, it's
I know it's
not in
just
DC.
easier to say DC, but thanks for having me on, and I will see you here in a few days.
Sounds great. Thanks again, Seth.
Thank you.
And thank everybody for listening. We'll see you next time on the eDiscovery channel.